Hi everybody, this is Courtney with Fiber Fox Studios, and today what we're going to go over is how to read a mosaic chart. So we're going to start out with this very basic chart. This is one of my charts that's available for purchase on my Etsy store, and I'm showing you guys this chart so you can see how you would go about reading any mosaic chart. There's pretty much a standard as far as I could tell. I'm fairly new to creating mosaic charts myself, but when I was trying to figure out what do you do in order to make a chart, I was able to determine that there's two basic keys involved. So when you're doing a mosaic chart, as you can see up here, there's a little stitch key to guide you. So when you see a box that's blank, regardless of what color it's tinted, the blank box means that you do a back loop only single crochet. When you see a box that has the X in the box, that's when you do the double crochet drop down. So you have those two stitches, and that's what makes up any of these mosaic patterns. So let's look at where you start on the chart. Now on this chart down here, right here at the bottom, it tells you that this is the foundation row, and this foundation row is chaining in multiples of 12 plus 4 at the end, and the fourth chain is a turning chain. So once you do your starting chain, you come here, and on my charts I number the rows to help you keep up with which row you're on. So here's row 1 right here. Let's zoom in so you guys can see a little bit better. So row 1's right here. On my charts I also put the single crochet in the very first stitch in the row, and I mark that on the chart so that you know that that's what you're doing. So on this row 1, even though it's tinted gray on down, the color does not matter. What matters is there something in the box. And in all these boxes, as you see, there is nothing in the box. So that means you are doing a back loop only single crochet all the way down that row. And then on my charts, I also do the markings of what color you're using, and I do the single crochet in the last chain, or in the last stitch of the row as well. I mark it that way. So for this particular row, you're just doing back loop only single crochets. So now you go back to the beginning. So you're looking always working in the bottom corner of your chart. You move on to row 2, and you can see in row 2, same thing. We got a single crochet in the very first stitch, and then all the way down the row, even though we have some that are tinted in that purple color, we see blank boxes on row 2, so we are doing back loop only single crochets all the way down that row as well. But over here I have marked where we're doing color B. So now row 3, we're switching back to color A. So let's go back over here. We're going to look at row 3. So we have a single crochet in the very first stitch, then we do 2 back loop only single crochets. Now we start seeing the X's. So these are the double crochet drop downs. So you're going to be doing a series of those according to this chart all the way across here. Then even though this box is tinted purple, we still see nothing in it. So that means we're doing a single crochet in the back loop only. So one of our back loop only single crochets. And we have 3 of those in a row. Then we start seeing the X's again. So now we're doing the drop down double crochets. And we continue on, and then the row ends with 2 back loop only single crochets, followed by, of course, your traditional single crochet in the last stitch. Now we go on to row 4. Row 4 is annotated for color B in this case, so we're going to return back over here to this side where we start. So here's row 4, marked right there for you guys. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Row 4, we got our single crochet right there in the very first stitch. It's the traditional one. Then we start moving on. We have a back loop only single crochet because there's nothing in that box. We have a drop down double crochet because there's an X in that box. Then we do a series right here. We're doing several stitches in this long row that are just single crochet in the back loop only. So that is how you read one of these charts. It's pretty simple. You're looking for your stitches. Your drop downs are always going to be marked by the X. And anything that's blank is your back loop only single crochet. The reason why there is a tint, the color, is so that you can tell what the shape is going to look like, or what your pattern is going to look like when you start doing the different drop downs and stitches. That's why it's tinted. The tinting has nothing really to do with how you read the actual chart. So I did want to point that out because that's pretty important to know. It can be very confusing if you don't realize that you are just paying attention to what is in the box and only what is in the box each row, and switching your colors accordingly. So on mine, like I said, I do put the A, B on the side of the chart on the left-hand side. And then I have the row marked over here on the right-hand side where we start. But I don't know that that is done by everyone who does these different patterns. So kind of keep that in mind. Some charts may not have that, but you can just write, you know, A, B all the way up the side. You can also number your rows so that you can keep track of them better and check them off as you move up in your rows. Another thing I wanted to bring up, and something that was asked, was Pinterest and charts on Pinterest. So far to date, the charts that I see on Pinterest are not necessarily what I would consider to be mosaic charts because I don't see them marked. Now, I saw a chart that was a daisy pattern. It's for some other type of crochet technique, but I thought for sure I can do that into a mosaic and I can figure it out. I couldn't, because the way that particular pattern was worked and the way I do mosaic, I couldn't translate it over into the way that I do mosaic. Now, there's other charts on there that you could very simply print them, and while they're not marked, you could mark them where you need to do your drop downs and everything. You would start on that. If you were to print off one of those charts that's on Pinterest that's not marked, start down here in the bottom on the very first row and figure out, okay, if I do that row all the way across, I would need to do back loop only single crochets, or what would I need to do? Typically that's how you're going to start it. And then row 2, you're going to think, all right, if I was crocheting this, writing down on that chart, you can look and see if you need to leave those boxes blank or if you need to start marking any of the boxes with the X. By row 3 or 4, you should definitely have some drop downs coming into play. So what I mean by that is when you're changing color, this row right here, so let's take a look. So color A on this chart is gray, and color B is this bluish purple color. So right here on this row, this is the second row, when we crocheted, it was back loop only single crochet all the way down that row. And it would have been purple all the way down that row. Then when we come into row 3, we start doing the drop downs. And that's what brings us, so we're now in color A. So that brings us down, covering up that purple row. So that is where the shape started to form. When we started doing these drop downs in gray in this situation, you know, for example, we were crocheting across here and it's going to turn it gray. Then when we move up to that 4th row that's in the purple blue color, when we drop down on that row, that covers up that gray. So that's how you start forming the shape. So you could, that's probably really confusing the way I'm explaining it, but you could print out some of those charts, and some of them you will find. You can mark them with where you need to do your drop downs, and it would work in a mosaic pattern. Other things, if it's a different crochet technique that requires you to crochet multiple rows in the same color, something like that, that's not going to work for the technique that I have taught you guys. Not that you can't maybe figure out another technique in mosaic to do it in, but just going off of what I know how to do and how I do it, some will work, a lot will work, I think. It's just a matter of figuring out where you're going to be doing your drop downs to start forming these shapes. So hopefully this little technique of reading the charts and giving you some tips on how you can handle those Pinterest charts will be helpful to some of you. If it is, please leave me a comment down below. If you have any questions or if I need to elaborate on this any further, please let me know that as well. I don't mind doing additional videos to teach you guys how to read these charts. This is my first time trying to teach someone how to read the chart. So maybe not the best video. I can always reshoot it if you guys are more confused than what you were before you started trying to learn how to read the chart. So I hope this has helped you though. And if it has, please leave me a comment down below. If it hasn't, please leave me a comment down below. Please give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. I really appreciate when you guys do that. And until next time, hope you have a great night. Bye.